humanity. Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Welcome to our show. Today is October 21st. I am Robert Press, your host. I am wearing my New York Yankee hat. Hopefully, the Yankees will do better when they're in Yankee Stadium. Also, I am happy, though, that I have my new press card, which expires in 2025. And you will notice there's no glasses on the press card. So let me introduce my co-host, Mr. Anthony RIVIECCIO. Anthony, introduce yourself, please.
Good morning, Bob. Good morning, everyone. My name is Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO. Many people in the Bronx in New York City know I have 3 lives. My predominant first life is I am celebrating my 32nd year as an income tax and financial advisor at both the Financial Advisors Group and RIVIECCIO Financial Advisors. My second life is that I am an adjunct professor, actually celebrating my 5th anniversary to the day at Herbert H. Lehman College. I also teach at Monroe College, both business and personal finance. My third and last life, which brings me here, is I am the founder of a wonderful Northwest Bronx political club called Northwest Bronx Democrats.
Okay, let's get on with the show now. Anthony, you mentioned that this hat doesn't look like a Yankee hat, right?
It has no Yankee emblem nor Met emblem.
Well, I bought it outside Yankee Stadium. The vendor said it was an official Yankee hat, but then again, it was only $5. So, what do you think I got?
Well, I think I got a copy of
All right, let me take it off
application. I can sell you,
and I'll fix my hair a little.
Oh, you got hair. All right.
Yes, we got hair still.
All right. No glasses, but we got hair. All right.
Let's go on with the show. What's our favorite subject that we open up with right now? Bidenomics. Please tell us what's going on with Bidenomics.
You know, Bob, what an appropriate time for you to ask me that question. No less than 15 minutes ago, Joe Biden addressed the nation. He addressed the nation, and he started an economic speech where it started talking about what he believed were some of the good things he was doing in office economically. And then it quickly turned into a campaign speech where it pretty much said, whatever you do, don't vote Republican. So to answer your question on the economic side, he was highlighting many things that, again, he believes are helping our economy. He mentioned about prescription drug costs hopefully going down now that the Medicare and Medicaid departments now have new rules to be able to negotiate. He, of course, talked about how the Inflation Reduction Act is going to help the economy long term. He mentioned how corporate America now has a minimum tax increase of 15%. And he put all that together, I think, to put out what was mainly highlighted this morning in the financial world that I think he grabbed a code on, which was, according to government figures, this is now the second year in a row that the budget deficit has gone down. It's gone down. I'm sorry?
It's gone down. Oh, yeah. They released the oil. That's why. So
well,
the oil...
I wouldn't go that far. What I would say is, again, the number went down to $1 trillion, more than the first year. And of course, Joe Biden, when he turned it into a campaign speech, turned around and said, see, this is a good thing because for the 4 years prior under the Trump administration, every year the deficit went up. Now, there's a lot of, in my opinion, professional problems with his statement. When you talk about the budget deficit going down, that is always generally a good thing. But it's only a better or possibly worse thing, depending on where our economy is at the moment. Right? So at the moment, most economists would agree we are flat, if not starting to go into a mild recession. So you always want the economy to be moving, right? Regardless of what your primary objectives are. And I'll talk about that in a moment as well. So if the economy is slowing down, starting to go down, then all lowering budget deficits do is make the economy go down even more because there's less spending taking place from the government. And of course, I also think that's very easy to analyze, although I have not analyzed it yet. But remember, after 2 years, we now do not have any more economic stimulus, right? So just that alone, I'm sure, has dramatically reduced government deficits. And of course, the minimum corporate tax increase has contributed as well. There are many reasons why it's gone down. That's a topic for another conversation. But if we all agree, and most do, that the economy right now is in a flat, slightly going down stage, and all you have to do is look at the stock market's performance of 20% or more to see that, well, then lowering budget deficits at this moment in time does not help our economy. It actually makes it worse.
So
The
you
only
said
time he
2020.
didn't even mention inflation in this whole speech,
Mhm.
which I found fascinating because as he was talking about the Republican proposed policies for the midterm elections, all he kept saying after he was mentioning it was, they're going to hurt inflation. They're going to hurt inflation. They're going to hurt inflation. And I'm saying to myself, well, under Joe Biden's watch, it went from 2% to 12%. So when he talks about hurting the economy, I'm like, well, what's he talking about, right? We're at 12%. How much, I don't know what's going to help or hurt, but I know that in Joe Biden's watch, we went from 2 to now 12% inflation. In my humble opinion, inflation hurts the economy the most.
Definitely.
There was a very big article in a recent New York newspaper that took everyday spending, everyday spending that the average American has, and came up with an estimated per person amount of about $400 it now costs consumers per month. Now, work with me here for a little bit, Robert. It's actually 445, but I'm going to just make it lower and say 400. So if we take that 400 and times it by 12, right, which is a year, that's $4,800, right? Let's make it 5,000, right? Because I didn't include the 45, right? So we'll make it 5,000. Now, that's 5,000 after tax income, not pre-tax, right? That's after tax. So if you live in the state of New York, well, guess what? That $500 is now $700. So when you take that $700 and times it by the same year, right? And by the way, I'm doing this all on my head. That's $8,400. The average American makes $50,000 to $60,000 a year. That means, based on the numbers I've just given you, that's a total amount of a 13-14% per year increase, either on what you're spending or a 13-14% decrease on your money.
Yep.
So how's Bidenomics? Well, Bob, we did have a good week. We had a good week. And right now, we are trailing. The market closes at 4 p.m. today, but as we speak, we are up. We are slightly up.
Oh, it's still up.
0.3%.
Okay.
And for the week, for the total week, we're actually up 2%. Don't get too happy, everyone, because again, year to date, from January 1 to today, most people that own stock portfolios are down about 25%.
Now,
the bond market is very scary, because very scary, because for 30 years, we have been in a low interest rate environment. And all that has done with the bond market has actually made the bond market very, very strong. Well, you had a whole generation, maybe 2 generations, that were holding bonds, and they were getting on average 7, 8, 9, 10% in total value per year. What I mean by total value is not just the automatic interest that you get on the bond, but then the value of the bond as well, that as the markets trade bonds, the value goes up or down, not counting the guaranteed interest that you get. So, of course, in the last 30 years, most bonds have increased in value. So you take that increase, add on the guaranteed interest, you're looking at a per year return for the last 30 years based on the bonds that you've owned, anywhere from an average of 5 to 8% a year. You know, it was almost like the grandma days when grandma would say, "Oh, I'm going to buy you a savings bond for college," right? But in those days, those savings bonds were 20%. So, you know, 5, 10 years later, college was paid for. Well, today, interest rates, short-term interest rates, within a span of less than a year, have gone up 84%. There's a recent article saying that short-term interest rates on the whole have never been higher since 2007. And that is very, very much accurate. What has it been doing to the bond market? Well, you know, again, it really depends on when you've owned the bonds, the type of bonds that you've owned. But it's really had actually a crazier year than the stock market, right? With the stock market, sadly, all we did was do this, right? We just went down, right? But notice this is a roller coaster, right? This is a roller coaster. And I will knock on wood and say the bond market has gotten better. It's gotten better because the inverted yield curve, as we know, and what the inverted yield curve is, young politicos, is when short-term rates are higher than long-term rates, right? Should not be that way. That's not a healthy economy. And that's where we're at now. Bob, I hope I answered your question.
Well, there's normally year-end selling in December. And normally people are taking their profits or selling to write off their losses. What would you say is the best time to sell now? Is it in December? Is it before Thanksgiving? Is it right now since the market went up? Or do we wait and just see what happens? And if the market goes down, take our losses and write them off?
Well, you know, first and foremost, I have to say, and I'm going to answer that question. But first and foremost, I have to say that it's all based on everyone's individual and financial situation. So that has to be out there first and foremost. Number two, of course, I cannot give fiduciary advice only to fiduciary clients. But I will give you what I believe to be a very good tip, general tip. Generally speaking, the stock market has, again, lost about 25% year to date. And unless we have some miraculous recovery in the next 2 months, we now, from a tax standpoint, are in a position to do something we have not been able to do in many years. And what that's called is writing off your losses. And again, I can't speak for everyone because everyone has their own individual situation. Everyone has their own individual portfolio. But generally speaking, tax losses on investments are now, and I will tell you, in my world, not the academia world, but in the financial world, that is now a big topic of conversation.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's go into world news, okay? Because I thought the U.S. and Russia were the two main suppliers of arms. But we hear in the Ukraine war that Russia is using Iranian missiles to fire onto the Ukrainians.
Yes, sir.
Well, what's the matter? Russia isn't making their own bombs anymore, and the U.S. seems to be not making any bombs anymore that people are buying now from Iran.
Why not? They've been doing it for years. This isn't a secret.
It's been done for years?
Sure, it's not a secret.
So we're now exporting out arms making too?
Say that again?
The countries are now exporting out arms making too?
I'm not going to speak for any individual country. I can only speak about public information. And in regards to your statement, there's no surprise on my end.
Okay, well, let's get into the...
what I think America really has to decide is, where do you want to be as a social nation? I am one that have questioned, and I think have the right to question, that if you're going to go out and I apologize. If you're going to go out and memorialize 9/11, right? Then let's be frank as to who bombed us, right? I believe it was the same person that Joe Biden went and did a high five with, right? Because that's who it was. It was Saudi Arabia, right? It wasn't Pakistan, it wasn't Iran, it wasn't Russia, it wasn't China, it wasn't even the Jets or the Mets, right? It was Saudi Arabia. And if people don't believe that by now, then they're just in total denial, because there's more than enough information now to verify that.
So Vince McMahon was in cahoots with Saudi Arabia with his, what is it? What's he having there in Saudi Arabia?
When you say, no. When you say in cahoots, you know what? Vince McMahon, ladies and gentlemen, he's now talking about worldwide wrestling. I give him a standing ovation, because this is how now you got Live Golf, right? You now have the Saudi Arabian Golf Festival, right? And many American as well as non-American players are now participating. Can you blame the players? I don't know. I mean, one minute you say you're a patriot, the next minute you say, give me an envelope. I don't know, but can you blame Saudi Arabia? I can't blame Saudi Arabia. I remember a time 10, 15 years ago, we had, and I think we still might, right? We might have their channels on American television, right? So if I want to find out how to be a radical person, although some people think I still am, if I want to know how to be a radical person, all I had to do was turn on the channel and learn every day, right? I mean, that's what the people did in Saudi Arabia, right? How do you think they got into our American airports? It wasn't luck. They took a class. They took a class that was paid for by American financial aid.
Well, let's get into politics, which is what the name of the show is.
That's not politics, okay?
Well, what's happening in the governor's race? We see the lead is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking by the governor. Hopefully pretty soon, well, I shouldn't say hopefully, but maybe pretty soon Lee Zeldin will be in the lead. What's your opinion?
My opinion is that I think Lee Zeldin is in the right place at the right time. And it's sad to say that, because what's driving this race right now are two things: crime and inflation. And of course, both of those now benefit the Republican side, because the Democrats have, and it's funny because on a national level, the Democrats are actually trying to blame the Republicans, for these situations. But on a local level, I think it's very, very clear, and this is why, based on those two issues, Lee Zeldin is gaining some steam.
Well, we had Kathy Hochul out on Long Island yesterday, claiming or saying that she spent about $100 million to repave many roads out in Long Island, the Long Island Expressway, the Southern State, the Meadowbrook Parkway. So she's trying to get some of those Long Island voters by saying, hey, I paved your road. I'm now known as Pothole Kathy, if you remember Pothole Al D'Amato. So, I mean, there was a little problem with Pothole Al. So, I mean, I think we have a little problem with Pothole Kathy, too. Some of the similar things.
Yeah, but, again, and I'm not trying to take either side, but if we have to talk current reality, I'm not going to blame Kathy Hochul. Kathy Hochul learned from Governor Cuomo, right? The Buffalo, New York that you see today, we now all know was built on corruption.
Just
right?
Like
and Andrew Cuomo signed off on every piece of it, right? So, right, demo rat, right?
Just like the Mario Cuomo Bridge, that should be the Tappan Zee Bridge. Okay.
Well, you know what? You're right, but I don't totally blame him. I mean, if my father, if I had a father in government and had a distinguished career like Mario did, I would want to take care of Dad too. So was it right? No. But can you blame him? No.
Do you want to talk about the Bronx Times right now, or are you going to talk about that in your Northwest Bronx segment?
No, we have a wonderful segment later on today, ladies and gentlemen, Northwest Bronx Democrat segment. We're going to talk about today's community newspapers and how they cover or not cover correctly political elections. We'll talk about that later.
Okay, well, I called it the New Bronx Democratic Party paper. But so
Okay.
Let's get on to some of the local races then that is still happening. We have in the 34th state Senate race, we have, according to the Bronx Times, incumbent Natalia Fernandez running against Samantha Sirica. Okay. I see Miss Sirica getting more, gaining ground against Fernandez, because Ms. Fernandez is not the incumbent, as somebody states. And, well, she can't run on her record as an assemblywoman. There is nothing to run on. Am I correct on that?
I think, and, we should share this with the audience so they can have the whole context, is that in the Northeast Bronx, if you chop the Bronx into east, west, north, south, the East Bronx is today known as what we would call the last bastion of Democrats, or let me rephrase that, the last bastion of conservatives, with a growing number of Democrats, and some of those Democrats also being of the conservative nature. So when you talk about areas like the 82nd Assembly District, the 80th Assembly District, those are today, in many ways, much more conservative than other sections of the Bronx. So in saying that, I think Samantha has been getting herself out there. She's been making some steam. I'm not quite sure on the current Bronx Times article about her that indicates that she made statements to the effect that she felt New York City was a third world country compared to Florida, because we seem to be giving non-citizens everything. My own opinion, I don't think anybody would deny that statement's not totally, not partially true. I mean, I heard today that where they have the Randall's Island tent thing created.
Right, there's only a few people in there.
Right, but you know what, Bob? I don't know if you're aware of this. There's a shelter right nearby that those residents in that shelter are complaining that they don't have Xbox,
right,
that they don't have laundry facilities, So, right, and this is a shelter that's been there, right, that I understand is not too far from where that is. So, I'm not advocating what she said, and I'm not sure how accurate that Times article is. But there is a little bit of justification to the current policies of both Mayor Adams and borough presidents that are, putting together things that one might say, well, while you're helping one segment of people in the city, other people in the city that are citizens of the city are not getting the same type of service.
Well, I got to say one thing. We both know Lou Goldstein, who is a vice president of the Bronx Democratic Party, correct?
Correct.
Now, Lou has put up on John Sicaro Jr.'s page, Facebook page, and Lou is 100% Democrat. And he's saying what a great idea that the Foodtown upzoning is. And he says with Natalia Fernandez, John Sicaro Jr., and many other Democratic members. So, I mean, if this is on John Sicaro's page, I have to believe that John Sicaro Jr. is for the upzoning as well as Natalia Fernandez, because they have not said anything against it. And John's boss, Councilman Raphael Salamanca, the chair of the Land Use Committee, voted, and the Land Use Committee voted unanimously, as did the council, for the Bruckner upzoning. So I can't see John saying, I'm against the Bruckner upzoning if my boss voted for it and the entire council voted for it. So I have to worry what John's going to say when it comes to the Just Home project at Jacoby Hospital, which should have been coupled with the Bruckner upzoning, but it's believed that it was separated till after, you got to fly there, Anthony, until after the election, as not to hurt Mr. Zucchero Jr.'s chances at winning that election, which seems to be very close, because one Democratic insider told me, well, we believe, and this was weeks ago, we believe that the race is going 70% for John and 30% for his opponent, Ms. Nastasio. So if they said that in the beginning and she's gaining ground, that's a competitive race. Correct, Anthony?
First and foremost, I should fully disclose that I am the current campaign manager for 80th Assembly candidate Phyllis Natasio. So saying that and putting that out there in full disclosure, I think whoever the candidate would have been of the conservative Republican nature, I think would have been they would have been able to have shown some of that old-time thought that I mentioned a little bit earlier. I think, and again, I have to say in full disclosure, I'm her campaign manager, so I don't want to be, out there for conflict of interest or anything. But I do have to say that I think what makes Phyllis different than other Republican candidates is once you know Phyllis, and if you do know Phyllis, and people in that district know Phyllis, because people in that district go to their community meetings, they go to their 4-9 precinct council, they go to their local community board, they go to their local, what I mean by community events or things in Van Ness, Morris Park, Pelham Parkway, and she's there, and she's just not there taking a bow, or she's not just there coming in late. She is there helping. I was with her at the Van Ness Festival recently, and as I was there, of course, making sure other things were happening as her campaign manager, the only thing she wanted to do was say, well, I want to help. I want to help set up the tables. I want to help set up the chairs. I want to help sell raffle tickets. If you see any of the pictures, predominantly on Facebook, but you might see in the local newspapers, with Phyllis Natasio being at a recent Van Ness festival, and if she's holding a bucket, that bucket was to sell Van Ness prizes, which I understand the organization did very well. And of course, none of that goes to Phyllis. That's the type of person.
Anthony, before we go to commercial, I want to say that I've been told that I won a $50 gift certificate to one of the local supermarkets in the area.
Yes, I heard that too.
But we now have to go to commercial. It's at the halfway point, so let's go to commercial.
In a world where the quality of information available to poorer communities is doctored, tainted, and sometimes regressive, where the words fake news have come to mean other people's opinions, it is vital to rely on news platforms with journalists who have feet on the ground and can report the truth. New York Parrot, a New York-based national and global news outlet, is changing the narratives of media operations. We focus on the news that matters, like self-empowerment, entrepreneurship, finances, health, security, politics, and more. We strive to curb violence, racial and economic discrimination, and to promote peace and socio-economic development of multiculturally diverse world. As we give voice to the people, we also give your business a voice and make it heard. Get your product and services off the ground by advertising on our fast-growing platform. With so much of daily visits to New York Parrot, you can't afford to be invisible to prospective clients on the websites they trust the most. Our posts reach millions of people across the New York State and around the world. Advertising on our news site will unlock an audience of thousands of potential customers on your doorstep. New York Parrot is born to prosperously speak tomorrow for the voiceless.
Welcome back to the show. Anthony, let's go into the Northwest Bronx segment right now.
Bob, before we do that,
Sure.
if I might, I'd like to tell the audience, now, ladies and gentlemen, what did you think of that commercial? Right? It wasn't bad, right? It was pretty good. And guess what? He made it himself. The producer made it himself. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to make your own commercials and feel free to put it on our show, give us a phone call, 347-575-5045. We know, for example, that next year you might see some Robert Press commercials, right? He's got a better phone than I do, so the commercials will come out very good. If you want to be advertised on our show, feel free to give us a call. Yes, Robert.
Okay, well, we have another guest after you, so let's go into the Bronx, Northwest Bronx Democrat segment, and then we have one of our old friends, Mr. Dion Powell, who will be coming on after you. Okay, take it away, Anthony.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have created a segment for this show called the Northwest Bronx Democrats segment. You can learn more about the Northwest Bronx Democrats on Facebook. Just go to the group page, type in Northwest Bronx Democrats, and feel free to join as part of our close to 2,000 members. We've been around since 2009. Today, we are very concerned, as Mr. Press has indicated a little bit earlier, about how community newspapers are going to be covering local elections. And let me also say that this has nothing to do with me being a campaign manager working on a local race, because if anyone sees the Bronx Times this week, they will see on a particular page from the Bronx Times called the Election Day Primer. And what that is it gives you a snapshot, or it's supposed to give you a snapshot, of the candidates that are running in the particular race. It doesn't give you a history, it just really gives you a name. But of course, that's better than nothing, right? But we have 3 races that are inappropriately not correct. In the first one, we have the 78th Assembly District, where we have, according to the Bronx Times, the incumbent, George Alvarez, running against a challenger. In the 80th Assembly District, we have the incumbent, according to the Bronx Times, John Sicaro, running against another challenger. And then in the 34th State Senate District, we have the incumbent, Natalia Fernandez, who's also running against a challenger. Ladies and gentlemen, that information, as I shared it with you, is of course not accurate. In the 80th Assembly District, as well as the 34th Senate District, those are open races. And we won't go into the reasons why, because we could spend the rest of the show talking about it. But those races are now open. There is no incumbent, right? This is why we're having elections, especially in the 80th. We're having basically a special election just for that seat. In the 78th Assembly District, well, George Alvarez did win the Democrat nomination and should be in as such, the Democratic nominee, George Alvarez. And the Republicans have a Republican nominee too. And that's how that person should be mentioned. So what am I saying? Well, obviously the Bronx Times didn't do a good job doing their homework. Does that make them bad? No, because as being head of an organization, I've worked with the Bronx Times for many, many years. What I do believe is happening, my own personal opinion, is that as community newspapers have been changing and evolving over the last 10 years, courtesy of the internet, you have staff that has changed. Older staff have gone on to other things. And of course, taking their place is a new generation. As this new generation learns about the Bronx, they're sadly going to learn by their mistakes. I personally do not think it was intentional. However, Bronx Times, you should be aware, as the campaign manager for Phyllis Santasio, some of our people do. We are concerned about it, and our campaign did send out a letter today, which I do intend on following up, hoping that the Bronx Times will not just make that correction for our particular race in the 80th Assembly District, but also change it for the other two races that have taken place. Because the average Joe, as we know, is not going to be voting in this race. And if they do, quite frankly, it'll be a miracle. So if they do vote, this is where that election day primer becomes very handy. So Bronx Times, I don't blame you, but our campaign is a little upset about it. We hope you can correct it, not just for our campaign, but for the other two races that are involved. Bob, back to you.
Okay, I am holding up my phone with those two mistakes in them. It shows incumbent Zaccaro Jr., which is wrong, as a matter of fact, and incumbent Natalia Fernandez. They both did not run in a primary. They were chosen or picked after the primary. And Natalia Fernandez, as a matter of fact, is an assemblywoman who didn't have a challenger in the primary, and that enabled her to run for the state Senate. Okay, so she, in essence, was able to run for two positions at one time. Then she, winning the state Senate primary, she decided, I'm going to run for the state Senate rather than the assembly, leaving the assembly seat open, where the county committee of about 25 people met and chose Mr. Zaccaro Jr. in a back room in the Bronx Democratic County headquarters, which is 2 blocks from where I live. And I wanted to attend this meeting, but it wasn't told to me when it is, because technically anyone in the district who lives in the district as a Democrat can be on the county committee if there are vacancies. And I wanted to fill one of those vacancies, but I wasn't given notice of the meeting. All right, maybe they just wanted to keep the media away from it, so it could be a quiet back room door thing, much like other things done by the Bronx Democratic Party.
But you see, Bob, that in some ways is what I'm talking about. I'm not going to dispute anything you just said, because I would say what you just said is about 95% accurate. But everything you just said can be composed of at least 1, 2, maybe even 3 articles, right? But your new reporter, your new person that's in the Bronx Times, your new person that might be at the Norwood News, the new person that might be at the Riverdale Press, the new person that might be at the Mont Haven Herald. Well, for them to really understand how the Bronx mud works, right, it's going to take them a while to actually learn how to swim in the waters. So this is what I worry about, that, you get something very basic wrong. And again, my own opinion, I don't think it was intentional, although some do. But, it's so blatantly wrong, showing that the reporter, although I'm sure good intention, right, because they did put up a nice, thing about it. So although good intention, showed that they really don't know anything about what they're doing in that area. And again, I'm going to slightly charge it off to, a new reporter that probably believes, as most new people believe, that the Bronx political waters are clear, when of course we know, old timers like me know, that when they call Washington the swamp, I always say, no, that's not true. You haven't been to the Bronx yet.
Well, do we have our guest available to come on? Mr. Producer, there we go. We have one of our old featured speakers, Mr. Dion Powell, who was supposed to bring on Mr. Roderick Compass. And would you please explain why Mr. Compass is not with you, Mr. Powell?
So much going on politically for me here in Queens with my Bronx hat, if I could hold it steady for you fine gentlemen, that there was a little confusion in scheduling with Mr. Compass and the whole rezoning scenario. But I have a treat for your viewers. Just like Mr. RIVIECCIO over there, I too plan to have my own little the Bronx, New York free-thinking Democrat statement, because like I told a band by the name of David Green, that there's a lot of inconsistencies in your published periodicals, as it were, for the community, causing mass voter disenfranchisement and suppression, which might actually work out for the third and second parties because the Democrats keep everybody nice and asleep, that people are just not going to vote because the vote is their voice, etc. So, Mr. Producer, I'm going to share my screen for lots of show
Before
and
you
tell.
share, Dion, before you share, what do you think of the Bronx Times mistake by claiming that or saying that Natalia Fernandez, John Sicaro Jr., and who was the other one? George Alvarez are incumbents when they're not?
Well, the CUNY School of Journalism comes out of my department, the first media at Dust City College. Horrible thing. And as he cackles in the Lehman faculty lounge for the adjuncts, I will say this. The liberal progressive socialists have slipped their way into our own local media, learning the craftsmanship. So I will say that's a rookie mistake, but sometimes it's a little bit deliberate because they have managed to perverse, slant, and skew. And now it's downright disinformation at this point. Misinformation is one thing, but disinformation is enabling the perpetuation of the voice oppression.
Yeah, but Dion, the only reason I'm sort of leaning towards it being an accident
Incompetence.
is because if it was intentional, right? Let's presume that it was intentional, then why would you do that to Alvarez? See, I can understand you doing it in the 80s. I can understand you doing it in the 34th. That could be definitely looked at as being intentional. But then why would you do it to the 78th?
Because it goes to show you the lack of civic education for whoever's reporting.
Right. Well, that's what I said earlier, that it's a lack of education more than anything else.
Well, the definition of incompetence is the inability to do your job well.
So okay. I didn't say he was incompetent. Okay.
Incompetent. No. Just like the word ignorant, it's neither good nor bad, But in the sentence, by definition, if you put the facts above the feelings, it's incompetence, negligence, all kinds of things for civic education beyond the president's office. I would like to request for the Bronx Times a copy of the Board of Elections Ledger to see who are the candidates in all parties, even the Conservative Party candidates and Working Family Party candidates that's supposed to be on that ballot, etc. Or maybe even have one of the reporters from the show or come on the show or be hired by the show or intern at the show to be in that realm. But I have lots of goodies for you guys to apologize for my negligence. Not incompetence, but negligence today. Are you ready?
Go ahead, Dion.
First, I'm going to show the magnificent AOC as me and my people went to go visit her in the strange land of Queens. Let's see. I'm going to share the system audio. Share alike.
She did some nice dancing, by the way. I want you to know. I like the way her butt was moving up and down when they were yelling at her.
I'm sure you would. Let's see. Boom, boom.
Well, I was thinking of Bob because that's Bob's girlfriend.
That's my good friend.
Oh, that was a good friend.
Obviously, you're not sharing it well.
Maybe. There you go.
Oh, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like the Bronx, no?
That's Queens.
Queens, okay. Wake me up. That's not nice.
That's my friends. Look at all my friends.
Where are you, Dion, there?
I'm on the other side.
Oh, you're hiding. No, you're filming, I should say. The lights went out?
I'm camera number 1. This is camera number 2.
They turned the lights out?
They were out for about 2 minutes.
Puerto Rican accent. That's just one example. Let's go to camera number. Look, 332 shares, 800 likes. Now here's another one with my guy.
Wow, that's a great picture. Oh, there we go. That's Queens also, right?
Yes, same place.
Mm-hmm. That looks a lot more packed than the Bronx audience.
I'm over the other side. I'm on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
That's me over there, the Yankee cat. That's me with the Yankee
Ah,
cat.
I see. All the way in the back. You're right next to, you're by the exit, it was. And that was a good place, Dion, in case there was a riot, you were the first one out.
That's my guy, David Rim. David Rim. That's me. See me?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, no, that's not an exit.
I can't believe that between all of you, all I'm hearing is promotion, and nobody's giving us a pretext as to what's going on here. And what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen, is that many protesters came in the middle of this event, some being with congressional candidate Tina Forte, and it happens to be the second time that she went to a town hall event that AOC was handling. And what I believe you saw, even in slow motion, were some of the outbursts that took place at that event. So, Dion, did you get a right hook or a left cross? There goes that there. Look at them hips, boy. There you go.
Anything of the Bronx meeting that she had? No?
All right, boys and girls, enough show and tell, AOC. Time for the Dion Powell County Committeeman, State Senator, 32nd District candidate, play-by-play. If you pay attention closely, family, our coalition, because I was the cameraman, not the orchestrator, I always say fire to camera because people love me from those groups, has united people from the far left to the far right. Very dangerous for AOC. You saw those young people there that says AOC's got to go at the Boys and Girls Club, not just the club, the Boys and Girls Club. Heteronormative language, very dangerous talk, folks. Now you want to go to part 2 of Dion's show and tell? Let's go to part 2. Assemblyman Jose Rivera, the incumbent, correct? So there was a little 40th anniversary at the Fordham Hill.
Jose Rivera, the incumbent?
The incumbent.
Jose Rivera didn't, you mean just ran incumbent?
The incumbent's assembly person is who?
Right now, the current assembly person is George Alvarez.
Well, Jose is still there till the end of the year.
Bronx Times reporter messed up. Okay, let's go to show and tell. Whatever the guy said. Whatever he says, right? Whatever he says.
It's an open seat right now.
Okay, well, we're going to go to live. Let's see, where is it? We're going to the Bronx, New York, Free Thinking Democrats, family. So come with Dion, shall we? Now, if you notice, that's David right there. Here we are at the Fordham Hill Oval. Right, that's me, Chaplain Vivian. That's the chairwoman of the shareholders, Miss Myrna Calderon.
There's no video on.
You don't see the video?
You're not sharing it, no.
All right, sorry about that, family. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, boom, let it load. It takes a little while. Boom, boom. All right, boom, boom.
That's our man in the street, Dion Powell.
Yeah, as you can literally see, right? Okay, now, can you see my shared screen of me and my pretty face?
Yes, you're lovely.
All right, you see the two ladies with me?
No.
Really? Okay. Well,
you're standing in front of a storefront, it looks like.
Oh, it's supposed to be sharing the screen. Let's see.
There we go. Okay, now it is.
Can you see me now? Yes, good. We're good?
Mm-hmm. My good friend Myrna Calderon.
Chairwoman of the Forum Oval Cooperative. All right, and that's Chaplain Vivian, another person that's supporting the Zeldin ticket. Here we have the Admiralty himself, Jose Rivera, the incumbent assembly person of the realm. And guess who this is right here with his great-granddaughter? Who's this? Anybody know who this person is? That's my cursor circus.
That could be, that looks like his daughter,
former.
I'm not 100% sure because the picture looks bad, but it looks like his daughter, Naomi Rivera.
Right, Naomi.
And guess who this is?
That picture is even worse. I'm not sure who that is.
This is Governor Kathy Hochul, everybody, rocking the Yankees.
Okay.
Governor Kathy Hochul. I thought it was a guy.
No, oh my God. Guess who this is? Show and tell, show and tell.
That's, the back is Fernando Cabrera.
And who's at the podium? That's Lieutenant Governor, candidate Allison Esposito running against the self-identifying Afro-Latino. What's his name? The incumbent.
I don't know.
Antonio Delgado, the
I thought it was
self-identifying.
Brian Benjamin for a moment.
No, Antonio Delgado, the self-identifying Afro-Latino. And
Well,
this
wait a minute.
segment,
Didn't she have the crook? I mean, the guy who was indicted, Brian Benjamin, as her lieutenant governor?
we'll get to that another time. Right now, we have State Committee woman Rachel Bradshaw, and this gentleman here is Joe Pinion running against United States Senator Chuck Schumer, giving out literature and also spoke as well. And guess who this guy is?
Looks like the mayor to me.
Mayor Eric Adams, another celebrity in the house, aka New York City Jesus. Everybody flocked to Eric Adams. They loved him. Now, here's no show and tell. Who are these three people?
George Alvarez, Yudeka Tapia, and Anthony, who's the third one?
That looks like Mrs. Alonzo, but again, I can't see the picture that well.
This is the Democrat nominee for the Assembly seat that Jose Rivera currently holds, Assemblywoman Yudeka Tapia and District Leader Socrates S. Solano.
Wow,
That's what I just said.
Well, here we go.
Do we have any news here besides looking at
show and tell? Who's
is there any news here
on the ground?
Hello.
So who we have here?
News here.
I see Kenny Augusto there.
All right, who's this
That's
over here?
news. Kenny Augusto's alive. Is that the news that we're picking up here?
Oh, who's this? Who's this? Well, I'll stop sharing my screen for these.
Are you still with us, Dion? I think we lost Dion. Wow.
I don't know what you mean by that, Bob. If you're saying our ratings went down 20%, I would believe that.
Well, since we have a few minutes left, I'm going to talk about last night's Community Board 11 Leadership and Executive Board meeting. They have on the 27th a vote to do. They are voting on Just Home, which is the proposal for Rikers Island inmates to be put in Jacoby Hospital into Building 2. There are going to be 50 people who are currently in Rikers Island. They are going to be put in based on their medical needs, which could be as little as diabetes, according to the HHC. I am on the Community Board 11 Housing Committee, which had a meeting in August, but our August meeting, we didn't have we have Dion Powell back. So let me quickly just say that in the Leadership Committee meeting, they will be proposing a resolution to vote no on Just Home at the Jacoby Hospital. Take it away, Dion. Our street reporter is back. What else do you have for us, Dion?
I have the last bit of show and tell as the lion, licks his perm, which is my ballots, which is a misdemeanor. You want Dion to commit a misdemeanor on air today, Robert? Huh? Want to show your ballot?
Go ahead.
Well,
I want to go into your candidacy for the 32nd Senate District.
We're going to get there. Relax. The AOC said relax. Okay.
Well, we're going to take 2 minutes for show and tell again?
Yes, I got less. Once again, we're at the Bronx, New York Free Thinking Democrats. Can you see it?
No.
What are you running for, Dion?
I'm going to show so you can tell. Watch. Can you see my screen now?
No. What is this?
No, we got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You don't see my screen right here with
No.
the envelope?
Nope. 3 minutes left. There we go. Okay.
Now?
What is that?
That's my Board of Elections envelope. And here are my choices. Take a quick glance. Who did I vote for? Ask me why and how. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see?
You voted for Louis Sepulveda.
How about now? Who did I vote for now?
Louis Sepulveda.
You see it?
Yeah, Louis Sepulveda.
Okay, you see I voted for Louis Sepulveda right here, right? Who else is on the screen?
Jordan's your middle name?
Yeah, look at that. Isn't that interesting? But let's go back to educate our voters.
Were you named after Michael Jordan?
Now look at these columns here. Look at the 4 political parties, A, B, C, D. This is what's called ballot position. If you have the most votes in New York State for a governor, this is how it goes, A, B, and C. So Democrats have the most voters in New York State, B, boom, boom. But look at this conservative column right here. Look at all these candidates for the Conservative Party. But I want to highlight column E, LaRouche, Diane Sayre. She did 3 times the petition signatures to go up against Chuck
That is
Schumer.
not an official party.
Yeah, but it's on the. Look at it. You're disenfranchising your voter. Educate them. And LaRouche, as an independent party line.
She had to go on the independent petition.
3 times the signatures, buddy. And look at these ballot proposals. That's how Dion is going to be voting from now on. The show's over, buddies.
Well, Dion, are you still with us?
Did I just see you vote? Wait a minute. Did I just see you vote yes on those 4 proposals?
No, he voted 2 on yes. He voted 2 yes and 2 no.
Which
Correct?
one did he vote for in regards to the Bond Act?
I
He
thought
voted
you wanted.
yes on the Bond Act.
I thought you wanted to talk about the news and not my show and tell. I thought you
No, well, that is news. That is news. Because if you voted yes, and I want to be sure I understand your economic train of thought, that proposal indicates to basically sell bonds and get the money to use for other things. So in essence, we're creating more New York State debt. Are you an advocate of doing that?
I'm an advocate for creating New York State debt.
Because that's what it is. You're authorizing the state to sell more environmental bonds. And that's what bonds are. Bonds are debt.
Right.
So are you advocating that people should go and create more New York State debt by buying these bonds?
I'm advocating that. Okay, sorry, Press. Press, what did you say?
I'm just going to say goodbye to our audience because we're going to continue this until our producer cuts us off. Okay? So let's continue with this until we get cut off.
All right, Press.
So you're advocating that we add $4 billion debt to the state budget?
The answer is yes. Because
Why?
just like I'm about to answer. Because just like we're opening arms to all of our migrants here to New York City, I want to make sure that New York City and New York State infrastructure implodes. That way, a new generation of voter and civic-minded people will rise from the ashes like a phoenix and make sure all this goes away, just like Rudy Giuliani. Because right now, another rumor is Zeldin is way ahead and is going to win. Not because of his own fault, because the times are so dire. And just let you know, the whole campaign ticket, Kathy Hochul's looking worse and worse. You know, I have another bit of show and tell, which is Mayor Adams' staffer that actually was on Project Veritas, talking about exposing him in the whole migrant scandal. Did you guys know about that one? You see, I had another inside. I had another inside scoop to show and tell, but unfortunately, we're out of time.
Right. So let me say goodbye to our audience. And thank you for coming on, Mr. Powell. Unfortunately,
next week.
Unfortunately, if we have time, we may not have time. We have other guests coming on. But Mr. Powell was supposed to have Roderick Compass, who was going to expose the Fortune Society. But we see that Mr. Powell exposed himself by not being able to get him. So let us say goodbye. Anthony, any final words?
In a world where the quality of information available to poorer communities is doctored, tainted, and sometimes regressive, where the words fake news have come to